This video is brought to you by DeFi Saver. With DeFi Saver, you can manage your whole DeFi portfolio in one single dashboard. Even if you use several DeFi protocols, no need to use different apps. DeFi Saver already manages more than $1 billion. And if you are an advanced DeFi user, you should have a look. In this video, I'm going to go through the main features of DeFi Saver and explain how they can supercharge your DeFi toolbox. To get started with DeFi Saver, you just have to connect your address. You can input your address directly, or it can connect to various wallets, including hardware wallets like Ledger or Trezor. You can also quickly see your recent transactions and the current gas price. If you go in the History tab, you can see the full history of your transactions, similar to Etherscan but a bit nicer. In the Portfolio tab, you can see your whole crypto portfolio with the breakdown of your different assets. Below, you can do some quick actions for some protocols, and if you want more options, you have to go to the individual menu of each protocol. In order to play around with DeFi Saver, you don't need to use your own money. You can use their simulation tool. It will give you 100 fake Ether that you can use to experiment in safe playground, totally isolated from mainnet. Okay, so with our simulation account, we're going to explore the feature of MakerDAO. So we are going to create a CDP. So actually the new name of CDP is Vault. So a CDP will allow you to generate some DAI by locking a collateral. For example, if we choose Ether as a collateral, so for example, let's put 10 Ether. So here about locking 10 Ether, we will get 14,000 DAI. So let's create this. So we can see the cost here. And it says it's going to create a DS proxy. We're going to explain this after. Okay, so let's accept this. Okay, so now that the proxy is created, we're going to create the CDP. So let's accept the second transaction. Okay, so let's close this. So now that the CDP is created, it's recommended to set up an automation to prevent a liquidation. So let's click on automation, setup. And so since this is a simulation, we're not able to set up the automation, but we can still see the two important parameters. So we have two cases, repay and boost. So with the repay feature, you can avoid being liquidated. So when your collateralization falls below 200%, the automation is going to reimburse some DAI to bring the collateralization ratio to this level. And you have the opposite automation boost. So when your collateralization ratio goes over this level, we are going to borrow some extra DAI to bring back the collateralization to this level. And if we come back to the homepage of the MakerDAO menu, we can see our CDP with the amount of collateral, the amount of debt, the collateralization. So all the info we need to manage our CDP. And if we scroll down, there is a menu to manually manage our CDP. So for example, we can borrow some DAI here, or we can reimburse a part of the DAI that we borrow here. We can also adjust the collateral level, so we can add some collateral or withdraw collateral. And there is also an advanced menu where you can boost or repay. So it's different from boost and repay in the automation menu. It's a bit sophisticated here. When you use the boost feature, it's going to borrow some extra DAI. Then using a decentralized exchange, it's going to swap this DAI against ETH and send this extra ETH as a collateral to your CDP. So this allows you to have a leverage position on Ether. And you can do the opposite operation with the repay action. So next, let's check out the integration with the Compound protocol. So with the dashboard of DeFi Saver, you can lend and borrow on Compound very easily. So the first step is to provide a collateral. So for example, let's provide 10 Ether. And after, so you will see your Ether supply here. And if you want to borrow, you need to click on Enable. It's going to allow your Ether to be used as a collateral for the loan. And if you scroll down, you will see the different market parameter for the different markets. And you can also see the borrow APY, supply APY. So here for the supply APY, you get the basic rate plus the APY that you make with the liquidity mining program of Compound that gives you comp token. So let's borrow some DAI. So we go into the debt tab and we're going to borrow, for example, 10,000 DAI. So here we borrow, accept, okay. And you can also pay back the money you borrow here, and you can also withdraw your collateral. And you also have some advanced feature. So you can get a leverage position by borrowing some DAI, swapping it to Ether, and resupplying this Ether. And you will earn an extra yield thanks to this extra supply of Ether. And you can also do the opposite action, which is repay here. So in order to use this, you need to use a smart wallet. With a smart wallet, the actual owner of your compound position will be a smart contract that you control. And the interest of doing this is that you can do several actions in a single transaction. So we are going to do the migration to access this feature. So we are going to migrate our position to a smart wallet. Okay, so our smart wallet is actually represented by this proxy contract. Okay, and so now we have done the migration, so we can create our leverage position. So for example, let's borrow an extra 5,000 DAI, and this will be converted to Ether and resupply into compound. So let's click on boost, and it's going to buy us 139 ETH. And here it tells us that it sources the liquidity from these different exchanges. There is also a service fee. Okay, so we do the boost. Okay, accept this. Okay, so now thing you can do with compound is to create a position by borrowing an asset. For example, you can go long on Ether by using DAI. So behind the hood is going to borrow some DAI and convert this DAI into Ether all in one transaction. So it's going to make you save some gas cost. And finally, you can also use an automation. So like for MakerDAO, the automation for compound allow you to prevent liquidation. So if you borrowed too much money and the value of your collateral goes down, it's going to automatically repay a part of your borrow. And so here, this is quite similar to MakerDAO. You have to specify the level when you want to repay and the opposite when you want to boost your position. Okay, so that's it for compounds. Next, you have the integration with Aave. So Aave is very similar to compound. This is a lending protocol, so it's pretty much the same thing. You can manage your collateral, your debt, and also have a leverage position. You can also automate your position to prevent liquidation. Next, you have an integration with the Reflexor protocol. So I actually don't know Reflexor very well, but from my understanding, it's a little bit like MakerDAO. So you lock some ETH and then you can borrow the stable coin. Next, there is a feature called Smart Saver. This allows you to lend your coins to the protocol with the highest yield. So here you can see the different protocol available: Compound, DYDX, MakerDAO, Aave. So currently the highest paying protocol is DYDX. So if we have a lending position in DAI, we can move it to DYDX. So to demonstrate this, let's lend something in DAI by using Compound. Okay, so we are going to supply to Compound. So here, let's, I think we do have some DAI because we borrow some. So let's supply 5,000 DAI. Okay. Okay, so then we go back to smart saving. Okay, let's close this. So here we can see our position 5,000 DAI to compound. We're going to move this to DYDX. So you go to move from compound to DYDX, and we want to move our 5,000 DAI. Okay, accept. All right. And now if you scroll up, you can see that our 5,000 DAI was moved to DYDX. And we did this in a single transaction. So this allows us to save a lot of gas. So next, they also have an exchange feature. So you can swap your token. For example, we can sell 10 Ether for DAI. You can specify our slippage tolerance. Then we click on exchange and it's going to do the transaction. Okay, and behind the hood, it routes our order to the exchange with the lowest slippage. It uses the API of 0x, which gives us access to a couple of decentralized exchanges like Kyber, Uniswap, and Oasis. So it's a little bit like a built-in version of the 1-inch aggregator. Then another feature is called loan shifter. So if you borrow money from one protocol and you see another lending protocol with a lower borrow APY, you can move your position to this other protocol. So for example, we can move from Compound to a CDP on Maker. We can also change the collateral that we use on some lending protocol. And we can also change the kind of asset that we borrow from a protocol all in one transaction. Otherwise, you will need to do several transactions to do this. And behind the hood to do this, it uses Flash Loan. And finally, the last cool feature they have is the recipe creator. So a recipe is a set of action that you can execute. They already have some pre-made recipe, and you can also create your own recipe. So you drag and drop different action. So for example, we can start with a flash loan from DYDX. So we want to borrow maybe, I don't know, 100,000 DAI. Then we lend to Compound. Then you can keep going and you add as many actions as you want. And at the end, you can execute your recipe. It's a little bit similar to another project called Furukumbo. And you can also define some automation, but it's still in beta at the moment of recording this video. DeFi Saver is cool, but it's not the only DeFi dashboard. What makes it really unique? Most other DeFi dashboards focus on beginners, but DeFi Saver focuses on advanced users. Features like automation, smart savings are unique to DeFi Saver, especially if you borrow money on DeFi protocols, and if you want to avoid liquidations, you pretty much have to use DeFi Saver. So go experiment with DeFi Saver. I put the link in the description. Thanks for watching. I will see you in another video.